I guess, like, you know, we can be stressed about our finances, we can be stressed about like just whatever in our outer world is like suffering a little bit. Emotional stress has always been the hardest, and I don't know, I don't think that that's just for me. I think that is for everybody, because we're emotional creatures. Human beings are fucking emotional. And so when you realize like everything is run by an emotion, and our decisions are made based off of our emotions, and like we can try to make pros and cons lists to like figure out what's the best way to go, or flip a coin, but like we still don't realize we're still making a decision. Even if it makes logical sense, we're basing it around how we want to feel or how we don't want to feel. And I needed to save money during this time period. I had my business. I was really struggling to pay for everything, and so I canceled my internet at home, which really threw off my entire routine, like my daily routine, because I would get home from work, I'd turn the TV on, just background noise. I always had background noise, or if I didn't feel like doing anything else, then I'd sit and watch something, like we all do, you know? When I canceled my internet, I did not have that in my routine anymore. Yes, I still had my phone, but my point is, I didn't have anything to like I never just sat down and watched something and like relaxed. I sat in silence a lot. Yes, I still had my phone to like listen to books, podcasts, things like that, but I didn't always use that. And I utilized my time by just tuning into what's going on upstairs. Like what are my thoughts really? What are my repeating thoughts? What feelings do my thoughts create? And you start to recognize how your thoughts are literally on a schedule. There was like a certain time of day, like after work, that I would start to worry about my mom. I'd start to miss my romantic partner. I would start to have fears. I would that just, our thoughts are in patterns, and they are repeating every day until we are aware of them. It really takes just awareness. Like we don't always have to do all this work to change something. Just being aware of something will do quite a bit. Maybe not immediately, but it will. And full trust in that. And so, you know, I also feel like our fears are so like outrageous. It's just completely in our own imaginations. Once you let yourself feel something or realize something, it's never as bad as you thought it would feel. It's never as bad or catastrophic as you imagined it to be. The worst thing that could happen, you realize what this worst fear is, and then you locate that fear, and then you're like, why am I so afraid of that? Like, what would happen to me if that fear came true? Anyway, that's a huge realization to make. It's the reason why I like to gain, like, I like to be very specific. I like to gain as much clarity as possible on like what it is that I'm thinking. What is my fear? What will happen if this fear comes true? You get to the bottom of that, and then you basically get to release it. It may not be immediate. Remember, it's not always going to be immediate, but you're giving your thoughts a space to flow out into, like, it's easier to like compartmentalize things. And there's nothing to fear about sitting in silence. It's self-care, honestly, and it's like the easiest thing you could possibly do for yourself. You're not working out or like doing anything strenuous. It's just mental release. And it's even better if you put it down somewhere or create something. So during that time period, I mean, there was a lot that I was feeling. But it transformed my routines at night. And when you have less, you start to get creative, and your creative brain, the creative side of your brain, is what will create change. And you're creating what you want. You're creating the future. You're not living in like your fears or thinking of the past so much. Less is more. Your creative brain, I also feel like your intuitive side is on the same side as your creative brain. I think our intuition is also, it's like in the heart, you know, and like the only way we can access that intuition is through our heart. But if we're blocked off to our heart because we're afraid of feeling, then you're also blocked off from your intuition, and you're just completely relying on your logical mind. And your logical mind reminds you of the past, because the past is what that's where we feel like our wisdom is from, like what we've learned from our past. But like, I mean, all of this stuff is just like, it's a huge like chain reaction, like a domino effect of things. And like, you don't want to rely on your logical mind. Your logical mind is also your ego, and the ego is separate from everyone else. And when you're dependent on that, then you wonder why you feel disconnected. You wonder why you have this feeling of not being fulfilled. It's lack of connection. And our ego mind is not going to lead us in the direction that we would actually want to go. You know, also like the ego mind is very much about the outer world, as far as how people view you, your value in the world, your status, your bank account, your position, your role. It's just completely your outer shell. Social media, like the things that people post, like what they want to share with the world. It's like, how different would their lives be if they couldn't post like that? If they couldn't take a still photo and like everyone be smiling, and like if you couldn't post these things on social media, if social media did not exist, like how different would those moments be? What if you couldn't show other people your accomplishments? What if they couldn't know your accomplishments? What if nobody gave you credit for something that you did? Would that thing that you did accomplish whatever goal, whatever you gained, if no one gave a shit? If no one could see those things, would they matter to you? Would they make you feel good about yourself? I think majority of those things would not. Those things don't make us fulfilled. Because I think we all know it's just this outer shell. It's just doing so many things for the sake of like how other people will view us. And it's sad. It's totally unconscious. Although we do have these moments where it is maybe conscious, you know, maybe not in that, maybe we don't lay it out that way to ourselves. But I do think as we get older, because I've noticed this with I don't know, this time period is interesting for people and the things that they are sharing with me. And maybe it's because I'm being more open to sharing my experiences and, you know, the harder things. I feel like people are also able to be more open themselves with me. And, you know, which is great, because they're allowing themselves to get over this small fear that like this person might judge me for what I'm saying, like talking about myself. which is why if I go first, if I'm honest and authentic and I share something that's kind of difficult, rather than just like, you know, saying what's socially acceptable for people, suddenly they feel like it's okay for them to own their shit and express their shit. And again, I mean, they only decide that because they already know that they won't feel judged. So everything, people who rely on their logical mind, who are very analytical, logical, and they're all about pros and cons lists and, you know, the facts and the evidence and the logic and the like blah blah blah. They use ChatGPT for everything. They're always looking up everything. Like, it's unfortunate because those are the ones who may not know themselves very well. And I would say, and I do say to them, like what is the emotion behind this feeling of unfulfillment? Do you know? And if you don't feel like you're able to be yourself around the people around you, maybe we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves for that fear that we have, that like there's something not comfortable about it. And it doesn't mean that the people around us are not good for us. It means that you're growing at different paces. And like, you know, I was thinking about this earlier. I heard this question earlier and it made me think about it myself. Just who in your life knows you the most? Who in your life knows you so accurately? And my brain started thinking of people who have known me my whole life, you know, like my best friends, or, you know, like our family or something. But honestly, I don't think they know me very well. They might think that they do, but there's no way we're growing at the same pace with just these people who have known us forever. That doesn't mean anything. And just because we grew up together does not mean that they actually knew my internal world that well, because I barely knew my internal world that well. People just see what other people are doing, how they're acting, behaving, how they treat others, the mistakes they make, the things that they care about. But like, as we're growing up, a lot of that is based on like how we were programmed as in our childhood. And it's easier to grow side by side with our friends when we're young, you know, but as we get older, through our 20s and especially through our 30s, like, you can start to notice the way you see the world is very different than the friends that you've had your whole life. And that's okay. It's just, if you feel like you can't express everything about yourself now, like if you can't talk about the deep stuff, if you can't share your fears, emotions, deep thoughts, then that just means that, you know, on a deeper level, that y'all don't see the world the same. It's okay though, and you shouldn't force that either. Don't put it on yourself as like, I'm not brave enough to just be myself. No, maybe you shouldn't see it that way. Maybe it because when you do meet somebody or come in contact with a person, you can kind of tell early on that they see the world similar to you, how they view others, what they're judging or not judging, their opinions on things, how they feel about things. And you can really pick this up on just casual conversation. You don't even have to be talking about like deep, dark secrets and like traumas and our families and stuff. It really, I can tell through very casual conversation if me and this person are alike internally, how our perspective is, how we tell a story. Are we always the victim of something? If we complain about something, are we able to end it with, but at least blah 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 blah? Because it's better to like complain like that. Like, don't just complain and blame and like act like you're not part of anything, and you know, people just do this to you and like you have no control over what you don't like. Like, if I'm gonna complain, I really try my best to end the complaint with, but at least this and this and this, or whatever. It makes a difference. So I was thinking about who knows me the best, and I was it's interesting because I thought of some clients, and my clients, I mean, how well can they really know me? Like, some of them have known me for 4 or 5 years, but still, like, 1 hour with a person once a month for a few years in a row, like, why would I feel like this person knows me so well? And I thought of someone in particular. I don't usually like to share names on here, but I'm going to say it. His name is David, and David Coconut. He's an older man, and our conversations used to be different whenever we first met, and I was a lot more lost back then, and it was the start of my like career with men's cuts. I was still learning, I was still growing, I was still making mistakes, but like I was building who I was and who I wanted to be. And I think because I try to live my life through that, like, it's not about like what I can accumulate. And I mean, if anything, over the years, I've really disconnected from social media. I don't post anymore. If I do, it's like a drag. I don't really want to be online. It's funny because I make YouTube videos, but the intention behind these videos are like not for anything like popularity whatsoever. It's honestly an intuitive decision. It actually embarrasses me to post these videos, and but there's something that feels right about it. I don't even know what that means, or like what that would look like if something went the right direction. I don't know, but I don't try to figure that out either, because I don't like to think of this like word success either. I think I use the words fulfillment. Like, what will make me feel fulfilled? Like, my ideal anything is about my internal state. And rather than us thinking about what will we have 5-10 years from now, what type of position or role will we be in 10 years from now, it's always about what we have. Whether even like, I don't know, you know, I think stability is definitely something that I mean that we should all want for ourselves, for sure, but that doesn't mean that there's a certain amount of money that you should have in order to feel stable. Because I have been able to feel financially stable, but not emotionally stable. And I just said this earlier, like, emotional stress is so much harder on me than any financial stress, even though financial stress is fucking hard. But you can control that. You can take action to do something about it, although you gotta know. You gotta like figure out if you're gonna go after something else that will make you more money. You have to know why you're doing that particular thing. Don't just get any extra job. Don't just get extra jobs and like work your ass off to like get financially stable. That's not going to make you feel fulfilled. They have to go, like, the fulfillment is within, and it's within your heart, and it's an emotional feeling. Abundance is an internal state. Every time I've followed my intuition and like didn't really understand why I was making a decision, big decisions, like letting go of my apartment, letting go of my friends, letting go of my romantic relationship, you know, telling my mom she needed to find her own place. That was a really hard freaking decision. Leaving my business, leaving my apartment. I left everything. I sold everything from my salon suite. I made that decision within 10 minutes. I was not planning on doing that. I was planning on re-signing my leases, but within these 10 minutes, it was an intuitive feeling. Like, I'm not supposed to do another year doing this. Did I want to do that? Hell no. Because that would mean I'm moving back in with my father. If I was more focused on what that would make me look like to the outside world, I would not have done that. I would have probably just, rather than like moving in with my dad, I would have asked him for a loan. And like, there were options like that. I knew that. I knew I didn't have to do that. I knew I didn't have to let go of everything, but something in me said, I didn't know what was going to be on the other end of those decisions. I just knew that going another year, having everything I had, everything that made me feel independent and in charge of my own life, I knew that there was something imbalanced about how I felt emotionally. And so I went with that intuitive decision. And it was scary because I knew if I didn't act right then, that I may not do it. And I told nobody. I told nobody until I did it. And I think the more we're able to trust ourselves in those moments, we're like, you know, and I had to get still first. I had to spend time with myself in silence. I had to create. I had to be expressive. I started painting. I learned about oil paints and like kept fucking up, but like kept at it. So like, you know, even though my financial situation with my business was not getting better, I felt progress in this other area where I was learning oil paints, and that wasn't bringing me in money, but it made me feel like I was growing and I was making progress just creating. I would not have ever paid attention to those internal feelings had I not given myself space to, and canceled my internet, and like chose to, you know, limit myself with like the distractions, like making that decision myself. And then what's left? You're forced to just be creative with your time. And that is when your ideas come. And I believe that that has to come from your heart. No one knew what I was doing late at night. No one saw my oil paintings. Like, they actually looked like shit for a long time, but I wasn't posting these things. I wasn't talking to people about it. I was alone, but in solitude. There was something about oil painting that made me feel, I don't know if it's happy, but like, it made me feel on track in some way. And it didn't make sense, which is why I didn't talk to people about it, because I couldn't really make sense of it. But the other thing that I have also realized is I don't think what's meant for us, like, because everybody has their own mission, journey in this life. I think if it doesn't make logical sense to everyone else and you feel like you want to do it, that's your path. That is what you are meant to follow. It's not supposed to make perfect sense to everyone else. You're not supposed to live your life based on everyone else's approval. And so even when we're like venting to our friends and talking about our problems and like wanting to get advice, wanting people's input, wanting their opinions and judgments on like helping us decide something, like, no. You have to be able to like trust yourself a few times, maybe with the smaller decisions, you know, like don't just go like sell your house and sell your business and then be like, okay, you know, because like that's not everyone's path. I mean, maybe it could be, but maybe not at the same time that it is mine. So trusting yourself And sometimes you don't even know if it is your intuition that is like pulling you a certain way, but it's okay, because if there is a small urge, a small little pull to do something that is not what the average person would do, just do it. And you'll know later if that was an intuitive, light bulb moment. And the more you do that, the more you start to realize, like, my intuition never leads me the wrong way. But have patience about the outcome and keep tuning in with yourself. Don't be afraid of your mind. Don't be afraid of what you feel. Everything takes practice. You can ease into things. Don't force anything to speed up, because I moved in with my dad, and for a while there, I was like, why in the world did I do this? Because I don't feel like I have much left. I mean, I have this house, and I love my dad's house. I love my dad. But, like, I gave up everything I worked so hard for. Why? And I was thinking, like, where is the answer now? Like, what was I supposed to find? And then I took a walk by myself one night, or one evening, in nature, without my phone, without music. I was just walking, and the idea came to my mind. If there is something I'm meant to find, if there is a lesson through all of these things, like just, doing the courageous thing and following your intuition, the reason felt like it was about being able to be abundant with whatever you have left, with whatever, no matter how much you've lost, no matter if you're alone, who else is around you, maybe no one's around you, like, where you don't have the same job anymore, you don't have the same living situation, your relationships are gone. Can you feel abundant no matter what, where you are, with very little? And what are you going to do at that time? You'll find the next thing. You'll find it within you. And if we keep looking on the outside, looking for the answers on the outside, which is what I was doing, I was like, when is my financial situation going to get better? Like, when am I going to love this transition, moving to the salon that I work at now, which has definitely, I've found a new purpose at this place, at the salon. But I do believe it wasn't until that day I took that walk in nature by myself with no distractions that I did start, that something clicked, and I had to make a mental shift. And the internal shifts is what aligns things in our outer world. But sometimes when we're expecting something to change, get better, if we're changing something within ourselves and then we're like quickly looking on the outside and we're just like, okay, like it didn't like help this other thing on the outside, like maybe that's not what's meant to change yet. Keep looking. Like, see where something else was meant to start growing. And just remember, your fulfillment and your happiness is not about your outside world. It's not about what other people think. It's not about your outer shell. And we know that. We've faced that lesson time and time again, haven't we all? That you can have all these things. You can have all this success and accomplishments, but like, you still feel fulfilled. So when are we going to realize that the fulfillment is not going to be on the outside? It's about, you got to connect to your heart. And I think our heart it doesn't lead us the wrong way if we trust it. But you got to like give your ego mind a break and realize that happiness is about connection. And rather than thinking of who people are going to see you as, think about who you want to be. How do you want to treat people? How do you want to affect other people? Our purpose, don't we all want to make a difference? Don't we all want to like be impactful? I think everybody wants that. But decide, like, in what way? And what would that person look like? How would they be internally? And once you have that figured out, the person you want to be, how you want to feel, and how you want to make others feel, I think that's where things like align. And I think that's where like intuitive knowledge like comes in. So yeah, I think and I think the people who you will be able to like, you'll find the people who have similar perspectives as you, and you'll realize it never had anything to do with like you not having the balls to like be your authentic self to all these other people. You were meant to take a step forward or up, I don't know, not away from the people that you still love and want to keep in your life, but like there are people who will align with your perspective shift. And if it feels comfortable for you to open up to a person who may feel like a stranger, just trust that too. There's a reason. We feel like our bodies, it knows the way. It knows what's comfortable. We don't have to question like ourselves about how like, oh my gosh, like why am I telling this person like something I've never told anybody? Like, don't worry about it. Just keep following that and see where it leads you.